So, yesterday, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent appeared before the Senate Banking Committee, and Senator Elizabeth Warren asked him what should have been the easiest question imaginable. Can you promise that Trump won't sue or investigate his own Fed nominee, Kevin Warsh, if Warsh doesn't cut interest rates exactly how Trump demands? Bessent couldn't do it, because over the weekend, Trump literally joked at a fancy Washington dinner that he'd sue Warsh if rates don't come down, normal stuff presidents say about the people they nominate to independent positions. They're not even pretending anymore that the central bank is supposed to be, independent from presidential tantrums. And Scott Bessent just sat there in a Senate hearing and told Elizabeth Warren with a straight face that whether Kevin Warsh gets sued or criminally investigated for doing his job is up to the president. Good job. Let's watch what happened, and I will give you my take later.
Ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So for a solid year while he ran for president, Donald Trump promised pretty much every day that he was going to lower costs on day one, if he was elected. Those were his words, not mine. So Secretary Bessent, you are one of the president's top economic advisors. Let's just start with a little truth-telling about the Trump economy 1 year in. Affordability is the top concern for Americans across the country. Donald Trump has called affordability, I want to get this right, a hoax. He's called it a scam. He's called it a con job. You're the Secretary of Treasury. You know the numbers. Is affordability a hoax, a scam, or a con job?
Senator, it may be a bit nuanced for you, but what President Trump is referring to is the media saying that the affordability crisis was generated by this administration when it was you and President Biden who destroyed the buying power of the American people. So there is an affordability crisis, and you were front and center in it.
So let me make sure that I understand. Donald Trump is not saying that affordability, what's happening to families right now, is a hoax?
He is saying that trying to lay the blame at this administration rather than the Biden-Warren economy is a hoax.
Okay, so it all happened before he got it. And everything that's happened since then, nothing is a hoax here.
21.5% cumulative inflation.
Let me just ask about what's happened in the 1 year that Donald Trump has been president. Last week, President Trump said, quote, "We have the groceries going down." Did grocery prices drop in 2025?
Numerous prices have.
Did grocery prices drop in 2025?
Numerous grocery prices have gone down.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you can't hear me. Did grocery prices drop in 2025?
Numerous grocery prices have gone down.
Some of them.
And in fact, we have seen inflation at 2.1% for the past 3 months.
Have you seen the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that is Donald Trump's own Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers, that report that grocery prices were 2.4% higher at the end of 2025 than they were at the end of 2024. Trump's own Department of Agriculture has projected that those prices would climb higher in 2026. And under Donald Trump, families are paying more and more for groceries. So if you're just going to insult people by denying the facts that are out there and tell people they're doing great when they're struggling, I think that's just another way to say you don't have a plan to bring down these prices. You're not willing to admit the failures of the Trump administration.
Senator.
I will ask you a question in just a sec here. It's not just groceries. The numbers from Trump's own economic agency show that Americans are paying more for utility bills, more for health care, more for housing construction. Families aren't fooled by these lies. Mr. Secretary, you owe it to American families to own up what's going on. And Secretary Bessent, I have one more question for you while I have you here. You ran the search for Donald Trump's Fed chair nominee. And Trump promised, quote, "Anyone that disagrees with me will never be Fed chairman." Kevin Warsh got the nod last Friday. And then over the weekend, Donald Trump joked that he would sue Mr. Warsh if he failed to lower interest rates. At least, I think it was a joke. But just in case, this should be an easy one, Mr. Secretary. Can you commit right here and now that Trump's Fed nominee, Kevin Warsh, will not be sued, will not be investigated by the Department of Justice if he doesn't cut interest rates exactly the way that Donald Trump wants?
That is up to the president. Can you commit that you will?
I'm sorry.
Can you commit that you will not hold
he
hold
won't
up?
Be sued if he doesn't drop interest rates.
Can you?
And he won't be criminally investigated.
The president also made a joke about you that I won't repeat, Senator Warren.
That was the
actually, I will.
one.
He said he had reservations.
If this was a joke, why not just say so?
It was a joke, and he made a joke about you too, Senator Warren.
Yes,
he got a lot of laughs. Got a lot of laughs.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to respond to that.
I do want to respond.
What I can tell you
the American
is
people
Mr.
are
Warsh
laughing.
is highly qualified.
They're the ones who are struggling with affordability.
Why don't you tell the nation what you told me, that you held up Chair Powell's
Secretary,
renomination?
We're going to move on to the next one. Senator Rounds, the floor is yours.
Okay, you just watched the Treasury Secretary of the United States refuse to rule out the president suing or criminally investigating his own Federal Reserve nominee. And if your jaw is on the floor right now, you're having the correct reaction. According to CNN and the Wall Street Journal, on Saturday night, Trump attended the elite Alfalfa Club dinner in Washington. Think Supreme Court justices, cabinet members, foreign ambassadors, the whole power player crowd. And he joked that he'd sue Kevin Warsh if the Fed chair nominee didn't lower interest rates. When reporters asked Trump about it later on Air Force One, he called it a roast and said it was all comedy. But here's what Warren was getting at that you need to understand. Trump announced Warsh's nomination on January 30th, less than a week before this hearing, and he's already publicly joking about suing him. This isn't theoretical. The DOJ is currently investigating current Fed Chair Jerome Powell right now over renovation cost overruns, which experts across the political spectrum have called a transparently bogus pretext to intimidate the Fed into cutting rates. Now let me add some context about what's actually happening with grocery prices, because Bessent tried to dodge this too. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Trump's own Bureau of Labor Statistics food at home, that's groceries, increased 2.4% from December 2024 to December 2025. Not decreased, increased. The USDA's Economic Research Service projects food prices will rise another 3% in 2026, with certain categories, like beef and veal, already up 16.4% year over year as of December 2025. When Bessent kept saying numerous grocery prices have gone down, he's technically not lying. Some individual items did drop, but the overall grocery bill went up, which is what families actually experience when they check out at the store. And here's the kicker about Trump's affordability as a hoax messaging. In early December 2025, Trump stood in front of cameras and called affordability a con job by the Democrats, a Democrat scam, and a hoax. According to NPR, he literally said at a cabinet meeting, the word affordability is a con job by the Democrats. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. But just days earlier, he'd posted on Truth Social, I am the affordability president. CNN documented this whiplash in real time. Candidate Trump promised to make America affordable again and held up Tic Tacs at rallies to demonstrate shrinkflation. Then President Trump called the entire concept a fake narrative. Political consultant Frank Luntz told NPR that Trump risks appearing out of touch when Americans are actually paying more, and a Politico poll from early December found that 71% of Trump's own 2024 voters believe the cost of living is either bad or the worst they can remember. So when Bessent sat there insulting Warren by telling her the affordability crisis was you and President Biden who destroyed the buying power, he's trying to memory hole the fact that Trump spent an entire year campaigning on this exact issue, then spent the last 2 months of 2025 calling it a hoax. The strategy here is transparent. Blame Biden for inflation that peaked in 2022, take credit for any price decreases, even when overall prices went up, and when Democrats point out that families are still struggling, call them liars. It's gaslighting as economic policy. So what does this mean? Well, for you personally, it means the independence of the Federal Reserve, the thing that's supposed to keep your savings from turning into monopoly money, is being openly dismantled. The Fed's job is to manage inflation and employment without political interference. Because when presidents control interest rates, they tend to juice the economy right before elections and damn the consequences. It's like eating an entire cake because you want dessert right now, then being shocked when you feel sick later. Globally, this is a disaster. The dollar is the world's reserve currency, in part because people trust the Fed's independence. According to Congressional Research Service data, foreign investors hold approximately $8.5 trillion in U.S. Treasury securities as of December 2024, specifically because they believe the Fed won't debase the currency for political gain. When Trump jokes about suing his own nominee and the Treasury Secretary says that's up to the president, it signals to markets that the U.S. is abandoning the post-World War II monetary framework that made us an economic superpower. China and Russia are watching this and taking notes. And for what? So Trump can claim credit for lower rates before the midterms? The Fed already cut rates 3 times in late 2025, and inflation is still hovering around 2.7% above the 2% target. Jerome Powell has repeatedly explained that cutting too fast risks reigniting inflation, which would make affordability worse. But Trump doesn't care about actual economic outcomes. He cares about the political narrative, and he's willing to burn down institutions to get it. He couldn't bully Powell, so he nominated someone new and immediately started threatening him with lawsuits as a joke. It's the equivalent of your new boss introducing you to the team by saying, "Work hard or I'll destroy your way." Now, Warren also brought up Powell's renomination, and Bessent tried to deflect, but here's what she was referencing. When Powell's term as chair was up for renewal in 2021 under Biden, Warren opposed his renomination, citing his record on bank regulation. She didn't threaten him with lawsuits or criminal investigations. She just voted no and explained her reasoning publicly. That's called democratic accountability. Trump, by contrast, is having his DOJ investigate Powell for alleged lies to Congress about renovation costs. Republican Senator Thom Tillis, who's retiring so he doesn't have to kiss Trump's ring anymore, has said he won't vote for Warsh until the Powell investigation is dropped, calling it transparently political. When you've lost Thom Tillis on executive overreach, you've really screwed up. Here's where we are. Trump nominated Kevin Warsh on January 30th. By February 1st, 2 days later, he was publicly joking about suing him. By February 5th, the Treasury Secretary couldn't promise it won't actually happen. And if you think this is about interest rates or inflation or helping American families, I've got a degree from Trump University to sell you. This is about control. Full stop. Trump wants the Fed chair to be his employee, not an independent official, and he's making sure everyone knows it. This isn't about whether affordability is real. It obviously is, as Warren's own data proved. It's about whether we're going to maintain the institutional guardrails that prevent presidents from turning monetary policy into a campaign stunt. And based on Scott Bessent's testimony, the answer appears to be not if Trump has anything to say about it, which, as Bessent helpfully reminded us, he does, because it's up to the president. If you found this breakdown helpful and want more clear, no-nonsense coverage like this, tap like so more people can see it. Share this with friends and family who care about what's really happening behind the headlines. Click the notification bell so you never miss an update when new videos drop. And don't forget to subscribe to stay informed, stay sharp, and stay ahead of the spin. Thanks for watching, and bye.